Hello everybody, welcome to my Oshi no Ko, chapter number 118 review. This chapter is titled Activation. And before I really get too deep into what happened last time and everything, I want to point out that I read Oshi no Ko off of MangaDex, right? The best website to really read off of since they translate as chapters come out and it's free. And the thing I want to point out is that whenever they say a chapter here, they say a chapter 108, not 118. So there, Manga Plus, I bested you. I saw what you did wrong. But to get into more of the chapter itself, this chapter is a very interesting chapter. I know I say that for most Oshi no Ko chapters, but this one starts off in a very interesting way, has a bunch of pages in the middle where nothing really happens, and then just a character interaction at the end, and then a sort of bigger reveal. So, yeah, just to really hop into it, last time we had the whole stuff of how Aqua is manipulating Kana, even though his sort of feelings for Kana aren't really brought up in this whole idea of everything, and how Akane is still trying to stop Aqua from commencing his plan, and just more stuff about with the movie beginning and getting ready to start filming. And I think the last time we actually ended off with a panel of director Kaburagi, or producer Kaburagi if I'm not mistaken, but I don't really feel like going back and checking at this point. But to read this chapter, I actually did do some research. So, to start off this chapter, we are where I am thinking is the hospital, or the town in which the hospital that Goru, who was originally Aqua, and where eventually I went to go have her child, right? Up there in that sort of mountain hospital. The one where all the characters went back to around the chapter 75-ish mark for the music video. And that's a very big deal for, most of the characters in that series. And we seem to start with Aqua here, overlooking the ocean, right? And as he's standing here, the Crow Girl shows up. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, it is the sort of Crow Vistage girl that appears, that seems to know everything that's going on, and also seems to be the one who has pretty much made the reincarnation happen. Because, of course, Aqua and Ruby are reincarnated versions of Serena and Goru. And so she appears again, and of course in chapter, I went back and looked at it, and it looked like, chapter 79, there's a whole thing where she meets with Ruby, and the two of them sort of talk over stuff, and who I'm going to call Crow Girl, pretty much just gives the whole idea of, hey, there were two guys surrounding the hospital the night that I died. One of them was a university student, he was the one who killed Goru, and also later killed I, and there was this other dude. And she pretty much said that it was up for Ruby to find that out for herself so she could get her revenge. So, coming back to the chapter 118 here, Crow Girl's behind Aqua and is just like, hey, what are you thinking about? Your sister? Your ex-girlfriend? Someone who loves you? Or maybe your mother? And a bunch of interesting things here. Sister Ruby, yeah, of course, he's got to have mixed feelings about her. His ex-girlfriend, Akane. Yeah, I wonder how he thinks about that. Someone who loves you. Oh, I don't know, could that be referring to Kana? Who could know? And, of course, his mother, Ai. Of course, we know Aqua is probably thinking about Ai the most out of all of these people, right? He's sort of using Akane and Kana, and at the same time has this Ruby over there sort of doing stuff for him to fuck over his dad, and at the same time trying to save his own mother. Crow Girl continues, pretty much saying, I'm sure your mother is watching over you somewhere in this world. She might be looking down as a star, you know? As Aqua speaks up, and the word bubbles here really give the weight of what he's trying to say. He's like, get lost, you pest. I don't want to hear a single word from you. As Crow Girl's just like, why do you hate me so much? Did I do something wrong? And Aqua's like, you said it yourself, didn't you? You can't find Ai Hoshino anywhere anymore. And Crow Girl's like, that's because you think she's still somewhere, right? Which pretty much is what we get here in a second, is leading to believe that Aqua thinks that him and Ruby got reincarnated, so there's a possibility that whenever Ai died, she also got reincarnated. As the Crow Girl continues, like, you think that, just like you guys, Ai Hoshino is born again and living happily somewhere. But you're wrong. Ai Hoshino's story ended right there and then. That is an absolute fact. Her soul collapsed and returned to the stars and the sea. It'll never be reformed again. Death is death. Ai Hoshino doesn't think of anything anymore. There's nothing on her mind. She will never smile again. As Aqua turns around, he's like, did you say the same thing to Ruby? As Crow Girl is like, oh, what a scary face. Even without me telling her about that, she is trying to play her part. She is truly amazing. As she continues, like, perhaps you think a little bit more about the meaning of your soul being carried in your body right now, what that really means. And Aqua's just like, you don't have to tell me that. I only have one mission. As we then cut over to a keyboard, as we see Director Gotonda sitting on it, and from here on out, for I think 5 or so pages, or just 4, my bad, we pretty much get like a bunch of just dialogue, just saying things about this upcoming movie, right? But to go back to Aqua and Crow Girl's sort of talk here, we know that Aqua only has one mission, and to him, that is finding the person that killed his mother Ai, and, well, killing them. And of course we know it's Hikaru now, so that's why this movie's being made, and his one mission is to make this movie, and yada yada yada. So, I also like the idea here of perhaps you think about the meaning of your soul, as it's worded here, about the meaning of carrying your soul in that body. So, pretty much why is Aqua and why are Ruby still alive? Why did they get reincarnated? And what really has to do with all of that? So, now to go back over to the stuff going on. So, we get narration saying, Screenplay Director Taishi Gotonda, submission of the final script. Producer approval, which is producer Kaburaki. Production committee is checked, as we see some of these production committee people. Production committee confirmed. Camera lighting team confirmed. Sound and music theme confirmed. Costumes and makeup team confirmed. Casting confirmed. As we see a bunch of big characters that we all know, and yeah, yada yada yada. We see Ruby, Frill, and Akane, of course, as that was a whole big interpersonal audition thing. We see Mimcho, and we also see Kana. We see Melt, I forget his last name, and we also see the dude who I do not remember his name either. Alright, so I went by and I found the one dude's name, and it is Taiki Himakawa. That is the dude who is the most prolific person in the big troupe that did the whole stage play. I forget the troupe name also. I really need to reread this series, so that's got to be done at some point. But just going into it here, of course these are all big characters and really important ones for the whole series. I mean, we have the interpersonal audition guys, the other members of the current Komodahachi, Mel and then Taiki. Just a lot of actors that we have seen a lot of in this series thus far, and it's a 118 chapter run. And even more, we now get the title of Distribution Company Approved, as we see that they're stamping paper like, I approve this to happen, right? And they put down their good old seal of approval in the paper. And the final text box just says, the 15-year Lie movie starts production. As we then seem to cut inside to the house where everybody is living, or I guess more the headquarters of Strawberry Productions or Ichigo Productions, whatever you want to call it, whatever translation you like to subscribe to. As inside we see Kana's reading her script and she's just like, oh my goodness, what a story this is, as she's just reading through that scripted 15-year Lie. And we look over and we see that she's also there for Ruby. It seems like Ruby's practicing her lines for her part of Ai in the movie. And she's just like, so Mom had always been a woman. She couldn't be a mother. She loves men. She hates women. Is that why Mom won't come to pick me up? And Ruby's just like, that doesn't sound right. Mom won't come. Mom won't. Mom. Is that why Mom? And she just says Mom like a few dozen more times. And she's eventually just screaming it like, Mom! As all of a sudden, Kana's just like grabs a towel or something and just throws it over her head. And she's just like, you're sweating like crazy. Do you like ever take a break? Even under normal circumstances, you're always in great demand. And your schedule's being packed, right? As Ruby's like, I'm fine, I don't need to worry about me. And Kana's just like, here's the thing. What she's doing is very unhealthy right now. She's sort of thinking all this, and she's just like, In other words, she hasn't gotten any rest at all from what she's saying, right? And she thinks about, like, don't overdo it. After reading this script, I could no longer say those words, just don't overdo it to her. If I was Ruby, I'd never want to be disrupted. I want to push myself to the limit too. As kind of like Ruby, it's extremely important for you to get some sleep like this when you're always on the move. It makes a huge difference in everything. And she's like, this is advice from a former child actor who is in demand. As Ruby's like, okay, thanks, senpai. As it doesn't really come across that Ruby has really taken this information in, and she probably won't do this, and there probably will be another moment later that will fully show that Ruby will have to learn this fact and kind of have to sort of explain it again. But then we see that producer Kakariko, I don't know, director, producer, who really cares? Producer Kakariko sitting in what I believe to be a cafe or a business meeting room, either way. He's sitting here and smoking a cigarette on his iPhone as usual. I mean, all he does is seem to smoke. And we see a person walk up to him and is like, hey, may I introduce her to you? This is Tendoji-san from the advertising agency. As we see a image of this woman, Tendoji-san, and yeah, this is very interesting because if you don't remember, Ruby's initial incarnation form, who she originally was Serena, right? I think most people who have read Oshi no Ko remember that fact. But the thing you might not remember is Serena's last name, which is Serena Tendoji, which is also the same last name of this person, implying that there's a good chance that this is Serena's mother. Which is big. Because, oh my gosh, like, oh my man, that's a sort of really big revelation. I find this really interesting because this is Serena's mom along with I, right? So Ruby and I are sort of same consciousness, but not same consciousness. So Ruby and I, or not Ruby and I and Tenjinai-san, as we know her, as of this point don't know her first name, are both her parents, and a few pages ago, Ruby was really screaming for her mom, which is a really big thing. And that's the end of the chapter. So there's a lot of really big things happening in this chapter. First off, this fully debunks the theory that I could have been reincarnated and brought back, right? Because Crow Girl, as we see earlier in the chapter for Talk for Aqua, obviously states that, yeah, this isn't happening. Of course, she should be lying, but there's also a chance that she probably isn't, and just some more edgy stuff to add to this series to make it even more boom, as we sort of say. The whole middle part of it with the whole screenplay director and production company confirmed and all that stuff is just going through all of the movie, and eventually we've already sort of gotten a page of like who all the actors are going to be and all of that good stuff. I mean, nearly 10 chapters ago. So just sort of getting more into it I find is an interesting move. And then we have the stuff of the interaction with Kana and Ruby. And again, I do enjoy it to a fine extent here. I mean, this is the first time we've seen these two interact in a while, being that it truly has just been Ruby, Akane, and Frill. So, yeah, it's fine. I really hope that Ruby sort of starts to take the note and becomes a better actor because of this. Because, of course, right now she is fully consumed by rage. And while that isn't a bad thing, I mean, it's a fun little thing to mention, we obviously know that Ruby could be a lot better. And I really don't have a whole lot more to say about this chapter. I have no clue what stuff's going to be going on with Serena's mom here, as we obviously don't know anything at all yet. So we can't really say, oh, is this what's going to happen? I mean, it's obvious that Ruby is going to have to interact with her, and at some point something will come between the two, but at this point we really don't know much of anything. So, yeah, if you're enjoying all the Oshi no Ko content, chapter reviews every week, then please like, subscribe, do all that good stuff to the channel. It'll help me out, and I like making these Oshi no Ko videos and having to do my research on it right whenever a chapter comes out. But yeah, that's pretty good. So, yeah, without any further ado, this has been Oshi no Ko, chapter 118, chapter title being Activation. And yeah, I'll see you next time. This is Glowplasma231 out.